Just record. All righty. Well, guys, welcome to our kickoff to our 6-week AM boot camp series, and our goal with this. So this is actually my first time doing this here in Texas. So I used to run this in Florida, and as we thought about like what are some of the things that created amazing managers, amazing offices, amazing districts, right? Like as Cody goes after this year, a silver cup. When I was a district, we won 4 silver cups as a district team, right? So my office and the offices that opened up together. And as I went back and thought about, I'm like, doing this, getting our guys really ready and corralled and making sure that we had top level leaders who really had a full understanding of the impact they could make and how to make it, right? On a day-to-day or week-to-week basis, regardless of how busy or how available they were, made a really big difference. Because when they showed up, our leaders showed up with intention. Our leaders showed up ready to lead and to lead by example, and they knew the conversations. They knew the things that were going to be the needle movers for the team. They knew the things that would help the team be able to have build layers, right? Have retention, building relationships. I joke around with people, but I'm like, being an amp, you're kind of like a host for a party. You're introducing everyone. You're like, oh, hey, and like connecting. It's not this little clique where you're like by yourself or like with the guys or the guys who've been around, right? Or like all the assistant managers hang out and we're a clique. Like, no, like we have an opportunity to impact and lead at super high level.
And Kathy,
Mhm.
I'm so sorry. They need me down the hall at our
You're good.
business club real quick. I'll be back.
No problem. So I brought this up to our district manager team going into this year. And I said, what do you guys think about this idea? This is something I haven't done in Texas. I know Mary Lou, one of my office managers, she did do this in 2016. But I hadn't, ran these myself, and they were like, oh my gosh, we would love to do this. And so this is our inaugural, my first in Texas, doing an AM bootcamp series and really getting ready. Our goal this year is to have a breakout year and for GCK to be a top 5 division in the country. And this is a big deal because the fact is, since this lady right here started having babies, we've been out. We've been out of the top. We've been, in the top 20 or right outside. And I know that we're a team that should be performing in the top 5 and getting back there, right? And I had someone ask me the other day, well, why do you say top 5 and not number 1? I'm like, well, we don't have the layers yet, right? We don't have the layers to compete with North Star. These guys have all these Cutco sales professionals who are selling $1 million. One person selling $1 million. One person selling 700,000. One person selling $500,000. So like their top 5 people sold over $3 million, and our division last year did 3.6 million. So our goal this year is to do 5.8 million. All right. North Star did 10 million last year. So it's knowing like it's going to take us 2 or 3 years to build all the Cutco sales professionals and the rock stars to be able to compete when these guys have been doing this for a long time. They have a lot of long-term Cutco sales professionals, people who have been here for 15, 20 plus years and do this for a living. Cool. And so that is something that for us, we're a younger in that aspect. And then where we beat people year after year has always been on the new rep side, right? And so this year, our goal is to put it all together. It's like, okay, how do we dominate new business development, right? And I'm going to talk about how we're going to do that. And then how do we create, these layers, create more Cutco sales professionals and top selling AMs and people that can really lead the way so that we can compete. But I'm very, very confident that we do the right things, that we can end as a top 5 division, and who knows, maybe even a top 3. So that's something that really excites me to bounce back this year to that and then keep growing as we bring home a couple silver cups this year and as a division. All right. And I know College Station is planning on bringing home at least 1, if not 2 or more as an office. So let's talk about, the role of as an assistant manager. So can anyone tell me what you think if I say, what is an assistant manager or what's their quote unquote purpose? Can anyone try to answer that, right? For me? I'd love to hear your definition or your thoughts on what is an assistant manager, or what role do they play in our company? What kind of impact do they have in our company?
I would say like keeping track of the team and making sure everybody stays consistent.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. What else? Anybody else? Nobody else want to take a stab at it? Y'all, they're like the MVPs. They're not just the starting lineup, because for me, key staff is the starting lineup, but they're the all-stars. You know, they're the person you always pass the ball to shoot. They're the one that makes the most points on the team. They're the ones that really lifts the team up, right? Speed of the leader, speed of the team. Raise your hand if you played sports before. I played sports my whole life. I was a competitive athlete. I played collegiate volleyball. I paid for most of my school on scholarship playing volleyball. And that was a really big thing. And when I think about our organization and the power of assistant managers, like these are the starters. Like this is a starting lineup, but these are the all-stars. These are the ones that everybody knows their names, the ones that always shoot the most points, have the most rebounds, have the most tackles, have the most, like whatever sport you play. But they are the ones really leading the charge and up leveling the rest of the group, you know? And so that is, you know, I want you guys to think about that for a moment, right? And it's like, it's not like, oh, I'm an assistant. And yes, Trevor, like you said, oh, we're in charge of the team or whatever. Yes, but more than that, you are the example for the team. Everyone got that? Like first and foremost, to me, an assistant manager is like the person that we want everyone to be. We're like, be like Cameron here. Okay. Like this, he like how he shows up, the attitude he has, the work ethic, the discipline, the organization, the teamwork, the positivity, the communication, the problem solving. Like these are attributes we want to see in everybody. And so when we think about assistant managers, we want these people to be basically living trophies, living examples of what we want to see more of. Cool. And so they really are setting the tone and setting the pace for our organizations. So I want to make sure you guys make note of that first and foremost, as an assistant manager, your job is to be the example. Does everyone got that? Like you are the example. And think about like if you owned your own office, right? Or if you guys took over Cody's office today or my office today, or any top office, and you were going to take over this organization, right? And you said, here's like my favorite rep, my top rep, my, you know, like the rep that I would want 100 of if I could clone them, right? What characteristics, what attributes, you guys tell me, you guys unmute or you can put in the chat. What are the types of things when you identify, you know, that key person, like the person that you are, that you're like, just love having on your team and they are like the best example. What are the types of attributes, characteristics, things that they would have? Talk to me.
They stay
I would
consistent.
say
Consistency. Awesome. What else?
probably discipline, like staying on top of
Absolutely.
everything.
Discipline. What else?
They always have the answer for most of the problems that you're going to have.
And I would say,
Available.
I would say problem solver / solution finder to that. Okay. And the reason I say that is you might not always have all the answers, but they always find it. Cool. So that's why I say solution finder, meaning like if they don't know, they're going to find out, right? Like they're going to get you the support that you need. They're going to figure it out. They're not like sitting there like, I just don't know. They're like, all right, let me find this out. I need to figure this out. Hey, who knows this? And so they're actually seeking solutions, right? So definitely a solution finder, problem solver. What else? What are other
Being open.
attributes? Go ahead. Was that you, Rob?
Yes, ma'am. Being open-minded and just willing to learn.
Open-minded, definitely a good student. Like just like, and not just a good student, but I love people that are hungry to learn. They're like, I just want to be better. I want to know more. I want to be at my best. Like I love people that love to learn. What else? What are other attributes, characteristics? If you're like, this is my guy or this is my girl, and they're like your favorite person, why? Why would they be your favorite to work with? What is it about them? So we have discipline, consistency, discipline, solution finder, problem solver, open-minded, good student, hungry to learn. What else?
People
Staying
first.
positive.
All right, positive attitude, huge. I can't stand negative people. I had to fire somebody, one of my best sales reps, by the way. This kid had a $1,200 average order and had about a 95% closing ratio. I mean, he crushed it. He was always selling homemakers, complete sets, whatever. And he just had a nasty ass attitude. And I remember one day telling him, you need to go. And he was like, what do you mean? And I was like, you heard me. I was like, you can't be on my team anymore. He's like, I'm your best sales rep. How are you going to replace me? Da-da-da. And I was like, I do not like your attitude. You're cocky and arrogant. No one likes to be around you. And you're pessimistic. I don't even know why you bitch and complain all the time when you like have amazing results. But like, he just always finds something in life to bitch about. He's just a pessimistic person, you know? And I was like, I can't have that around. And he's like, oh, you're going to lose me. And by the way, y'all, our sales went through the roof because he was bringing everyone else down. Even though he was selling a lot, he was bringing the energy down all the time, always complaining in the phone gyms and anything we did. It was awful. And I was like, I won't have that. And so I remember that day, and this was back in 2005. I was like, I will not have those type of people. I don't care how great of a salesperson someone is. If they're a jerk, if they're cocky, if they're arrogant, if they're not a team player, they're not on my team. Like I'm not going to have it. And that was just something for me, right? So positive attitude is huge for me. What else?
Like a people person, somebody that's can
Okay.
go, sit in front of somebody that they don't know and establish a connection with them and maybe
Yeah,
some.
and even if they're not a people person, and because people obviously you would be like, I love having someone that's a people person, that's great. But even if they're not, it's like willing to open up, right? So willing to open up and make others feel included, right? Because I've had people that were more introverted, but they were willing to go out of their and I'll put that willing to push past comfort zone, right? And they weren't scared to try new things or do something new or do something different. And I love that, right? And even if it wasn't natural to them, they're like, you know what? I'm willing to try this. I'm willing to do this. And they were willing to push themselves beyond the barriers that were most comfortable for them. Cool. So definitely a phenomenal trait. What else? How about dependable? That's one of my big ones. I want someone who's dependable, who's really of their word, of integrity. And if they say like, I'm going to be here or I'm going to do this, I know it's done. Right. Versus someone's like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And then like, they never, anyone knows someone like that. They always like have a big talk and don't back it up. Right. And you're just like, yeah. And it's that person, if they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to do that. And you're like, okay, we'll see if that happens. Right. And then there's the people that if they're like, oh, I'm going to do this or get this, you're like, it's done. Right. Like, there's someone that always follows through on their word. And so that's something huge, definitely for me. When I'm looking at staff members. What else? What other characteristics are, so we've got consistency, discipline, problem solver, solution finder, open-minded, good student, hungry to learn, positive attitude, people that are people person or willing to open up and make others feel included, right? Willing to push past their comfort zone, dependable, integrity. What else? I can tell you two more I have if you want.
A great listener.
Great listener. I love it. All right. And by the way, one of the ones I was going to say, and this is the opposite side of it too, but it has to do with communication, is great communicator. All right. I don't want to chase people down. I'm not a babysitter. And my other one is responsible. All right. Responsible and organized. Right. That's really important to me. Like, I'm not here to babysit 20-year-olds. All right. Whether you're 18, you're 25, you're 30, like, I'm not a babysitter. So I want people on my team and I want partners that are dependable, that are responsible, that can communicate effectively, good or bad, right? Like, I think that naturally people are comfortable communicating when things are good, but when things are not good, that's when they might retract, right? And we don't want that. So, that's huge there. Anything else you guys can think of? I think this is a pretty good list. Anything else? I'm going to put lead by example. Like, they're doing the things that we want our reps to see doing, what we want future leaders to be doing. All right. And guys, here's my objective, putting this together is, one, are you living up to those things, right? Like, looking at those and going, where can I improve as a leader, right? Because those are attributes of the best leaders. and really looking at that and challenging yourself to say, like, where are my areas of growth, right? Maybe some of the areas you're like, I got that, I got that, right? But then some areas you're like, I need to work on that a little bit better, right? And we all have room for improvement and area for growth in our lives. And when we have awareness, then we can be intentional around what decisions we make and what's going to move us forward. Cool. So that's really important. And so that's the first thing is understanding, like, one, what type of a leader are you? Cool. Two, what is the role of like, what is the impact an assistant manager have? And you can answer this, why do you feel an assistant manager? And by the way, if you don't feel this, I'll tell you right now, assistant managers have so much influence, so much power on the team, like so much more than I ever thought when I was an assistant manager. And maybe you knew that, maybe you don't. All right, but I'm telling you that. So why do you think, any guesses on why you feel that is? Like, why do you feel an assistant manager has an opportunity to influence and impact? By the way, sometimes even at a higher level than the manager, than Cody, than me, than any owner or manager. An assistant manager many times has more influence and more impact than the district manager on new reps. Why do you think that is? Yeah, go ahead, Cameron.
Because like we are a lot closer to the age that like the most of the reps are gonna be, so we're like one of their peers. So they're gonna be more willing to listen to us because it's coming from a place that's a lot more down to earth to them.
You nailed it, Cameron. Nailed it. Ding, 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 ding. All right. That is the number one reason, is like they relate more to you. You're more like them and they trust you more in terms of like, is what they're saying true, right? Because guess what? The boss gets paid off of you, right? The boss gets paid off of me. And even though I don't know that people don't understand, like, we're never going to tell you something that's not good for you because we don't get paid unless you succeed, right? But people don't get that. They're still like, oh, their boss, they're just telling me because it's in their best interest. In our business, what's in your best interest is in our best interest. Because if you're sucking, we suck as an organization. When you're thriving, we're thriving, right? But newer reps might not always get that. But yeah, that's right. You know, sometimes people can think like, oh, they have an ulterior motive, or they get paid off me, or this or that, or whatever it is, versus like you're more like a buddy. And it's like, oh yeah, I should do that. You're like, yeah, dude, what you just said is huge. Like, oh, okay. And then they'll go do it, or they'll go implement it, right? So Cameron was right on that, because of they're closer in age, they're closer, maybe you're in the same sports team or this or that or school, like they just relate to you a little bit differently. And so what you say has a lot of weight, good or bad, okay? And so this has a lot of power when you are working in partnership with your district manager, because your district manager is going to build y'all up, you know, as when you get promoted and as assistant managers, they're lifting you up, they're talking you up, and so live up to it. But then secondly, you know, you want to build them up, because when you say, oh yeah, well, Cody's telling you, man, I did this, and like, here's what it did for me. And, you know, I was waking up every day meeting at 8 a.m. with Grant, and like, you know, it helped me learn this and this and this. And, you know, I made over $2,000 my first week, or I did this, and being able to share your stories and saying, oh, what Cody is saying is true. All of a sudden, like when you guys reemphasize the impact that the district manager, whether John, Jacob, Claudia, or Cody, what they say, and when you pop into training, McCade, and you're like, oh, if Claudia tells you to jump, or whatever you want to say, I always say this, I'm like, ask her how high, whatever she tells you, trust me, do it. You know, like she helped me make over $2,000 my first weekend, like with what she taught me, and like Cody and his guidance or closing sales. Like when you guys build up your leaders and you say like, hey, what they're actually saying works, the people go, oh, really? Oh, okay, maybe I'll listen now. Where we could have told them the same shit all day, but the minute you reinforce that as someone they relate to, it really sinks in deeper. Cool. So that is like the power in like training, and you guys popping in or being at you don't have to be at the office all day, but even just doing a pop in, saying hi, and building up the leaders and building up any tips that they shared with you that helped you, it makes it way more real for new people. Okay. So that's huge. When you tell them like, hey, you guys should read your manual, it works. Again, it's re-emphasizing what they heard the manager say, but now they're like, oh, Asher said to do that. And he made like $2 grand in like 7 days. Like, I'm gonna listen to that, right? Even though the manager said it, but like because you said it. And it's just like, think about, let me ask you guys, did you guys ever have your parents tell you something to do something or not to do something? You're like, yeah, whatever. But then you had like a really cool uncle or aunt or best friend tell you the same thing. And when they told you, you're like, oh, really? Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll do that, or I won't do it. Anyone have that before? I always call it the cool uncle effect. All right. But it's like they told you the same shit your parents told you. They like your parents would be like, you need to make your bed. And you're like, yeah, whatever. And then your rich, cool uncle is like, you know, one of the things of the most successful people is the first thing they do is make their bed in the morning. It's the first one of the day. And it sets you on that. And you're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna make my bed. You start making your bed. Your mom's like, where the hell did that come from? Oh, uncle said that it's one of the best habits of successful people. And they're like, I've been telling you to do that shit, you know, your whole life, and you don't listen to me, right? So that happens sometimes to us, you know, as office managers. And even for you guys, those of you who get a chance to run your own branch, you know, because you're younger, there is that relatable, like, oh, you're telling me to do this, but there's still the you're owner and you get a financial benefit. But when a friend or someone that works in the business tells me something that seems more like me, like, I'm like, oh, okay, then maybe this is really, maybe I should do that, right? Like I heard him say that, but now that you said it too, like, all right, I'm gonna do that. So I want to make sure you guys know that the things you say matter. Everything. When you walk into the team meeting, when you walk into the office, like, can you be full of positivity? I remember when I started, my manager was like, you're never tired, you're never hungry, you're never broke. You know, he's like, just like full of positivity, right? If you're feeling overwhelmed, you don't say I'm overwhelmed. You say my life is full of opportunities, you know, and I'm blessed to be busy, right? And changing that narrative, but like where people go, wow, like they're just so positive because you're bringing the the energy up, the vibrance of whatever area, whatever room, whatever you're in. You're bringing that vibration to a higher level, all right? And so own that, take ownership of that. If you're walking like, man, I just feel my toes, like you just brought energy down, all right? And so energy matters for the room. And so what can you do to be intentional and find positive things to talk about? You know, you see someone in their phone or like they didn't reach anyone, like, oh, I'm having a hard time. Say, hey, it's all a numbers game. You know, you're going to have great phone jams. You're going to have average ones. You're going to have some shitty ones too. It's just part of the game, you know? If they were all great, everybody would do this job, right? But only the champions can go through the ups and downs. You got this, and giving them a high five. Like that brings morale up, right? Like that makes people feel better, and it gives them motivation, inspiration to like keep doing what they were doing, right? Like these things all matter. So just understand your words, not just your actions, they matter and they're watching, but also like your language, like your actual words, like they matter. So what are you doing to field train people, right? Like, so write these things down. So what are ways that you can really impact your office? One is conversations you're having. Cool. Where are these conversations happening? Write these down. 1, training pop-ins. 2, during phone jams. 3, taking people field training, right? Taking them with you on appointments. So field training. 4, PCs, doing personal consultations, personal coachings, and whether you do that before or after you take them on a field training, or if you just have a scheduled time to meet with them at the office and do a coaching session, like that's a place where you'll be able to influence and impact, all right? Also, workshops, write that down. Like if you're running workshops or leading things there, those are places you can impact. And running phone jams, okay? Can someone read them back? I actually didn't write these down. I apologize. Can you read those back? So we talked about, so training conversations. Did I say PDI? I think that's the one I was missing when I wrote this earlier. PDI, that's the other one. All right, so training conversations, personal coachings, field trainings, workshops, phone jams, and PDI. And we're gonna talk about phone jams here in a second. But PDI would just be like, if you guys are helping like check people on your team for the day, maybe you're shooting them a text or a voice memo. You know, maybe, I don't know if you guys with your mini team, something I used to have with my mini team like 2 decades ago, is we had our team name, we had our team color. I had a little group text for us. And I would send throughout the week like a motivational video, like a quick, like a 5-6 minute motivational video I saw that I liked, or if I saw a meme that I thought was funny and positive. You want to keep it all high vibe, okay? High vibe, like that's your job. It's like, can you guys help control the energy and keep that high vibration? People who are excited and positive and are looking for good things to happen, you know? And so I'd put like different motivational, like memes or pictures that were out there, quotes, motivational quotes. Like those are all things that are helping people elevate their energy, okay? And they're focusing on more positive things versus negative things. So those are all like just things that you guys can do that help inject more positive expectancy into your team and into your group, which is obviously going to result in so much. And then phone jams, which we're going to talk about, like just how to really lead those. And I know Claudia gave some tips a couple weeks ago on this, and I want to get a recap from you guys on stuff that you had from there and kind of review the do's and don'ts of that. But before we switch gears into that, just any comments or questions on what we've talked about? Does this make sense though? Because it's such little simple things that sometimes we just don't even think about, you know? And if we're just more intentional, like holy shnikey, it's like we can have such a big impact, more than we even thought, by just how we show up, you know, and how we have those conversations. So the last thing I wanted to cover today, and then I'll wrap up with just any questions that you guys have. And then next week, you know, we're going to dive into really leading from the front, making sure you guys know how to build your names list, how to help other people build their names list, how to enroll, you know, friends and family, how to share goals for future opportunities. Like we're going to be talking about that, because one of the biggest and easiest things you can do right now is be leading in the field, and how you do stuff and how you share goals, that people can go field training and be able to copycat, right? Like whatever you're doing, that, oh, I'm going to do that too. And that they're doing the right things. And so we're going to dive into that, you know, next week. But one of the simple things that y'all can do now, and, you know, every day, you could pick one a week that each of you runs a phone jam. And you're like, hey, every Friday, like Nathan in our office is running a phone jam from 11 to 12:30. You know, maybe you're like, hey, every Monday night, I'm going to run one from 6 to 7:30. Or, you know, for me, I ran one on Tuesday nights from 8 to 9:30 p.m. I love later night calls. I always reach a lot more people. But just you picking a time that you know you need a phone, and you're like, hey, I'm going to lead this weekly, and posting it in your group me. Hey guys, I'm going to be on Zoom. If anyone wants to join me, I'm going to make some calls. Make sure my next 48-hour window is looking good, you know? And so just as you're doing things, any positive activities that you're doing, any positive activities that your mini teams, your team members are doing, shout it out, recognize them. Cool. Like that's huge. Recognition all the time. Like talk about what you want to see more of. Cool. So let's say you have someone on your mini team, Trevor, and they had to reschedule, right? And you talk to them and you're like, hey dude, you know, you were planning on working anyway during this time, like any chance we could rock 15-20 calls and just see if we can get one to replace it. But even if we can't, maybe you book up 2 or 3 more for tomorrow, and that's still a win. You down to do it? They're like, all right. And they go crank calls and they book 2 more demos, right? Or 3 more demos. You want to just not celebrate them, of course, be like, hey dude, great job doing that, super proud of you, you know, and like really praise them for that. But you should post that in the group me. You should post that in the team group me or in the group text. When you get group me going, I want to like shout you guys out too, and say, hey, I just want to give a big shout out to Johnny, you know, from the blue team or whatever your team name is. You know, had to reschedule earlier today, and instead of hanging out and watching Netflix, got on the phones, you know, replaced his appointment and booked up another for tomorrow, right? Or got on the phones, made 15 calls, booked 2 more demos for tomorrow, making that money, right? And just recognizing any positive activity. But now other people on the team see that and they're like, oh, wow, okay, cool. When I have a reschedule, I should probably do that too, right? So any positive activity you guys see happening, share it. Recognize it, celebrate it. All right. We want to recognize anything we want to see more of. Everyone good? All right. Lastly is the phone jams. Okay. So let's talk about this. Who was there a couple weeks ago when Claudia talked about do's and don'ts of phone jams? Anybody? Was anyone at that team meeting? Okay. Then she did it during team meeting. All right. Well, here we roll. So from you guys going and attending a phone jam yourself, I want to hear what are some of the things when you've been to phone jams that motivate and excite you, and phone jams that maybe you're like, it feels like crickets and you're like, I don't really want to be here or do this right now. Let's talk about the difference here. All right. So what are some of the things that you've seen that you've liked when you've been parts of good phone jams?
Green
Obviously,
knives.
Go ahead, Asher, go ahead.
when someone schedules a demo and everyone says, got one, or,
Okay.
you know, and another
Yeah,
thing
so-
is like playing music and stuff and keeping it upbeat, making it fun.
Yes. By the way, y'all, never run a phone jam in silence. It's like death when someone jumps on. It's just like awful energetically. Whether you're live or in the office, right? If I am at the office, there's always music playing. If I walk into the office and it's quiet, I'm like, yo, what's going on? Like it just feels dead. Music can do so much for energy, in the room. And so again, our goal is to create a high vibe organization, high vibe experiences, high vibe phone jams. We want people feeling good, excited, positive emotions that we're helping curate. So yes, right on, Asher. Music is a must. All right. Make sure it's it's also like upbeat, positive music. I had someone playing music once and I'm like, it sounds like I'm at a funeral. Like it was just like really sad music and really slow. So even just the tempo and the energy is important. And make sure there's not a bunch of cussing either, right? Like both ends, like not boring, I'm gonna go to sleep, and not like mother beep beep, like that's not good either. All right. Like we really want to create a professional, fun culture. All right. And then Asher said another great one is the shout outs, right? Got one or bookmark or whatever, $1 million or silver cup, right? Whatever you guys want to chant, but having a chant and people taking pride in that. All right. Like my guys love when they got to ding that bell and be like, Warriors. And it was like, oh, we like had our chant. Or when I ran my branch was the Bradenton Beast. And our chant was release the beast, and everybody they loved it and they rallied around that. Right. So definitely team chants, team names, like that's all phenomenal. What else have you guys seen in terms of good phone jams?
When there's knives on the line, I'm like trying to book as many demos as possible. So
Okay.
that's one thing.
Cool. So prizes are definitely great things. You don't want to go crazy with those, especially those of you when you're running your offices, okay? Because that does cost money, but you can do, so I used to do very, very cheap, efficient phone jams. Now I did have a knife was one of the things. Like I had basically there was a box of mysterious prizes, and you picked a paper, and it could be a high five, it could be a gift card, it could be a free piece of Cutco, it could be a coloring book, it could be, and I had bought stuff from Dollar General, and I had a $5 Starbucks gift card and $5 Chick-fil-A, a $20 gift gas card, and then I had a vegetable peeler and a hearty slicer or something, right? Or maybe you guys have something you win at a conference that you give away in a phone jam, like when it's your office. When it's not your office, you guys just ask Cody, or you ask things like, every single phone jam in the team meeting, we always used to do 2 drawings. And by the way, the drawing for one was typically a book, for personal growth and development, and then the other one was a prize from the mysterious box, right? And so they didn't know what they were going to get. Sometimes the prize they won cost me $1. Sometimes the prize was free because it was a high five. Sometimes it was $5, or it was $100 knife, right? But people were just excited to win shit. So whether it's a knife or not, yes, Kaden, people like to win stuff, right? So that's always fun. So we did every demo, you get into a drawing, or every 2 demos, you get a ticket into a drawing. And so doing drawings of some sort, and whether it's they get to have a lunch with Cody, and you guys need to build the heck out of that up, Professor Rose, very busy guy, professor at Blinn University, finishing his, doctor now, college, sorry. Finishing his doctor and going to, doing his PhD, and, to get time with him and be able to learn from him and get knowledge, he's Hall of Fame in the company and all this stuff. That's a big deal. My guys usually picked a lunch with me over a free piece of Cutco, by the way, if they had the choice, so how do you build up Cody? How do you build up staff? Because there's a lot of impact that Cody can have that's going to do a lot more for the organization than them just getting a free piece, right? But if they rather have free Cutco, I rather not spend an hour. No, I'm just kidding. But it's easier on my schedule to to buy someone Cutco, but that's something that can impact. All right. So cool. So we got prizes, we have shout outs, we have music. What else? What are other things you guys have noticed? Like when someone's doing a great job leading a phone jam? Shout outs. You got to talk to them. Cool. You got to recognize people. So recognition. And so let's say, you know, McCade, you're doing your phone jam. So you're making calls too, right? You don't need to like every time, like in the middle of a call, say something, right? But it's like, I'll make my calls. I'll book a demo and then I'll look and say, oh, nice job. Rob just booked another one. Oh, nice job, Luke. Luke just booked 2 more. Cameron booked 1. Let's go, y'all. I just booked 1 too. Let's go. Who's getting the next one? And you're making that next call, right? So just like, are you congratulating people, recognizing people? You know, if someone might be having a slower, say, hey, Trevor, I'll be like, I see you dialing, man, keep going. I know, be like, it all breaks different. You're going to get it. Let's go. Let's go. Everyone's got this, you know, and just like every 2 to 3 calls, are you being the hype man? Are you shouting people out? Are you recognizing people? Cool. Those things really make an impact. And it also keeps people focused and motivated when you're doing that. All right. And then those are really, you know, the major like do's is like, do have high vibe music, do shout people out, have a team chant or a way people are communicating, you know, every time they book their demos. When you have big phone jams, something fun to do is also have like teams competing, right? And so we used to put on the whiteboard, like in our actual office, and you can also do it on Zoom, where we would actually have like, let's say this is Trevor's team. And you know, we'd put their team name or whatever there, and let's say we had Asher's team, and let's say we had Cameron's team.
Is that me or everyone else?
Huh?
I said you froze for like
Oh,
5 seconds.
okay. So you know, we have everyone's teams, and so we would be, you know, making calls, and every like 15 minutes I would come back and I would update this, right? So I would say, boom, Trevor just got 1. Asher's team just got 2. And so they'd be like, you know, 1 for blue or 1 for this or whatever the team name was, right? And so when they would do the, say like that they booked 1, they actually would say for their team. So you guys within the organization, within your offices, the more you can work your mini teams, the more you can drive competition between mini teams, the more impact you're going to have in your office as well and what's created, because people like to win. People like to be part of the winning
You
team.
froze again.
You can say like, you know, we can't be the caboose, right? Let me see if I just put mine. 1 sec. So really being able to share with them and getting them excited about that. And so let's say we had 4 new demos. So now I keep phoning and we're going through, and I'm like, hey, great job, so-and-so, great job, so-and-so here. And we're going through, and then the next, can you guys see me? Here. So let's see if it's still up here on the whiteboard. So we've made calls for 15 minutes and then no, because I fell off, I don't have it. So anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and update, you know, whatever it is, whoever's team. So now during this 15-minute or until I book my next demo, you know, let's say these are what they already had. And then we're phoning, we keep going, let's go guys, next 15 minutes. Let's see how many more we book up. And you keep things going, you're making your calls, you're celebrating others. And then you're like, all right, quick updates. Let's see here. Looks like Rob booked 1 more for Trevor's team. And looks like John's team just booked 3 more. Nice job. Sandra's team just booked 2 more. And oh, nice. Trevor, you guys got another one. Ooh, this is looking pretty tight. All right, let's keep going, guys. Let's see how big we take it, right? And also having a team goal for your phone jam, right? So being able to put, whether it's on the board or whatever, you knowing like, hey, our goal as a mini team is to book 12 appointments tonight, right? Or our goal is to book up 20 appointments tonight, or our goal is to book up 15 appointments tonight, whatever it is, having a goal for yourself. Okay. And if you guys want to write this down, what is the goal in terms of a phone jam? If it's a power hour, like you have an hour, whether it's in the morning or at night, or you're just running a 1-hour phone jam, 2 to 3 demos per person. That's your goal. Cool. So if you have 3 people there, including you, and you're like, all right, there's 8 of us. Let's go for 10 or more, right? That's a good goal for an hour phone jam. All right. During a team meeting, The goal is to book 5 or more per head. 5 is good. 6 or more per head is great. So if I have 5 people on my team phoning with me, I know that we want to book 25 or more appointments. Does that make sense to everybody? So that way you guys can set realistic goals. Because if there's 4 of you and you're like, we're going to book 40 demos, like, yes, and probably no. That's 10 per person. And if you only have 2 hours, that's kind of hard to do in 2 hours. But you could each book up 5 or 6 for sure, you know, if not more. Maybe someone does book 7 or 8, but someone only books 3. That's why it's an average, right? So again, if you have a power hour, 2 to 3, like if you're making calls in the morning for an hour, the goal is to book 2 or 3 more. If you book more than 3, heck yeah, you know. And in the evening, a Thursday night big jam or a team meeting jam, or when it's 2 or 3 hours that we're together, 2 or more hours of phoning, you really want to be looking at like 5 being the like the solid number, like that's a really solid average, and knowing that 6 or more is great. Cool. So set your goals according to that. So if you have 3 people, what should your goal at the team meeting? If there's 3 of you in your mini team that are going to be phoning, what's your guys' team goal?
15.
15 or more, right? Get everyone's goal. Be like, all right, cool. We gotta, let's put 15 and like, let's hit that as quick as we can and then see how high we can take it, right? If you have 6 people on your mini team that are going to phone, what's your team goal?
30.
30 or more, right? You guys good? So can you set, you know, team goals? If it's just, you know, you're leading a phone jam and 2 people show up, be like, all right, guys, our mission is to book up at least 10 demos during this hour so we could post how many we booked up, right? And just tracking that, having a countdown. You know, that's the other, let's say, Asher, you're going to lead I don't know, a lunchtime jam on Wednesday, let's just say, from 11 to 12. And 2 people jump on, right? And your goal, always write this down, you plus 2. You plus 2. If you're ever driving a phone jam, can you invite people so that you could have at least 2 people there with you? Cool. Whether they're from your mini team or from just the office, posting in the group me or whatever it might be, it's you plus 2. All right. So if there's 3 of us phoning, I'm going to make a little countdown. And so I used to do this all the time on my board. And I would just literally do this. And I'd be like 10, 9 before the phone jam started. Cody went to my office in Miami. We always did these countdowns on the board. And we had however many we were doing. We'd have 100 demo countdowns on the board, by the way. 4, 3, 2, 1. And so I'm like, hey, this is our jam goal as a whole. And then I would also even put individuals. So if it was me, I'm like, all right, Kathy, my goal is to book during this time, I want to book 3 more. And then let's say Asher was like, yeah, I need to book 2 more. I'm like, all right, cool. And then let's say Rob said, my goal is to book 3 more during this time. I'm like, all right, beautiful. So I would put our names, like our individual goals, and then I would put a full team goal. All right. And so every time we'd be phoning, we'd be going through. And then when we would get here, I could just share this. And I'm like, all right, boom. Nice job. We just booked 2 more. Nice job, guys. Super proud. Only 8 to go. Let's keep going. I just booked 1 and Rob just booked 1. Let's roll. And then we keep going, right? And like 15 minutes later, I'm like, hey guys, super great job. Nice job, Trevor, booking another one. Nice job here, booking another one, you know, whatever. And I grab, you know, I use a stamp. And so on the options, it says stamp. So it's already an X. And I'm like, nice job. Rob just booked another. Asher just booked 1. Oh, that's all spelled wrong. So beautiful. We got 6 to go. Let's keep rolling, guys. Great job. We're only 20 minutes in. You know, we keep going. And so you just keep updating it. Like every 15, 20 minutes, I usually update it. And I'll mark off. And then we'll celebrate. So let's say here, Rob already booked 3. I'm like, nice job, Rob. I'm like, we still have 15 minutes. You down to make 10 more calls and see what happens? You know? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. And he keeps going. So Rob booked 1, and let's say I booked 1. I'm like, all right, guys, let's keep rolling. And we keep going. And then let's say Rob booked another one, you know? I'm like, all right. I was like, Rob is now in the star zone. All right. So he got a bonus beyond his goal. Nice job. You know, like, thanks for staying committed. Because I tell him, like, once you hit your goal, you can leave. Or if you're down to help us with the team goal and make some more money for yourself, you know, we'd love to have you stay. But I'm like, all right, beautiful. We're at 7 booked right now. 3 more to go, guys. We got 12 minutes left. 3 more to go. If we each book up 1, boom, we hit it. I'm like, let's finish strong. All right. And so you're driving a number. You're driving a result. Now, here's something I want to share in terms of technical when you're doing this, right? Let's say I'm sharing music. right now. I'm just going to do as an example. So I've got my YouTube or whatever you're using, Apple Music, whatever you want, and I'm playing music, all right? When you go to play music, especially if you're making calls and sometimes you might want them to hear you because you're going to be the example and you're making calls unmuted on purpose. I did that. It's a very good thing to do, by the way. And then let's say sometimes, you know, like there's a lot of people jamming. and
One
I've got
big
music
thing
and
about
I'm
being
not.
a landlord and property
So
manager
let me
is
show you guys this real
proper
quick.
tracking of every.
All right. So when I play music, if I just play music like this, I can hear it great. I don't know. Can you guys hear it or not? You might be able to hear it a little bit. You might not. Oh, you can. I was like, I hear it. On your end, like right now, I'm actually talking louder because to me it's loud. Like I hear it. But other people won't hear it unless you actually share sound. You can do this two ways. Okay. One, when you write this down in terms, let me pause this because I can't hear myself. Here is how to share without sharing your screen. Okay, so I just want to share music while we're jamming. Like right now, we're all jamming. I took the whiteboard off and we're all jamming. I just want to share music. Here's how I do it. These are your steps. Click, share screen. The second thing, you're gonna on the top, it says, and I'm gonna take a picture of this so that if you don't know, and I'm gonna put it in the chat box so you can see what I'm talking about. I'll post it in a second, but I'm gonna click the second on the top. It says advanced, so it's basic, advanced, files, and apps. I'm gonna go to the advanced button. All right, and I'll screenshot this too to post it. And then the third thing says computer audio. So now I can share my music with you guys without sharing my screen. You can see that? The music's going, we're playing, we're good. Now let's say I want to share my whiteboard with you guys. All right, I don't want to stop the music, or maybe you do. Let's say I want to keep the music going. Then I'm going to go to share my whiteboard. So I'm going to click share. I'm going to stay on basic. I'm going to click whiteboard, but here's the key thing. And if you guys are ever sharing in training or anything, before you click share, on the bottom left of the screen, it has something that says share sound. All right. And so we need to actually click that button on the bottom left before I click share. So now I can go to my whiteboard and it'll share music, and I'm like, nice job. Cody just booked one. Otis just jumped on. Ashley just booked another one. Like, beautiful. Feel like we're up to, we got another one. Like, nice job. Like, can we get one more? We're going through. And then now instead of stopping share, I'm just going to put new share. And I'm going to go back to advanced. Like we did before, computer audio. I'm just going to share that. And so I went from the whiteboard to here. So just you stop sharing, try it again, and do it again. You can just and you guys can just do
Hey,
you
Miss
guys
Kathy.
can do a new share.
I'm sorry, Miss Kathy. I don't mean to interrupt, but I could barely hear you over the music.
Yeah. So let me recap again. So that's what I was telling you guys, it was loud. That was the music on my side that you guys couldn't hear. So sometimes as a new person running a phone jam, you're like jamming out, music is playing on your side, but it's quiet in the main room. So make sure you always, when you guys go to share, you click advanced options to do computer sound only. That way you don't see anything on your computer, all right? And then if you do want to share something on your computer, maybe you're sharing a YouTube video, right? You're running a breakfast club on Saturday morning and you're running a video, then you're gonna be on the basic and you're gonna click the video you want to share on your screen, but also make sure you click on the bottom left, click sound, all right? And I'm gonna post what I'm talking about, just pictures. Let me put these in the chat right here as we're wrapping up so you guys have these. Let's see here, your computer. And desktop, here we go. So these are a couple examples so you guys can see here what this looks like in terms of sharing screen. So that is going up right now so you guys can see it. All right. And actually, I think I missed one more. Hold on. Doo-doo-doo. All right, and as you do it, I mean, we can guide you guys, but just play with it. But just know that you always want to make sure you click share screen. So if you guys look there, you see how I'm saying on the top of the picture, it says like basic, advanced, files, apps. So basic sharing, meaning like you want to share one of the windows you have open, you just click which window. And if you also want it to have sound on the bottom left, you guys see all the way in the bottom left of the box where it says share sound? Just make sure you click that before you click share on the bottom right. Cool. And then whenever you're just doing sound only, that's when I go to advanced. I click the advanced, which is the third picture down. And then I click the computer audio, which is the third thing over. And then that's just showing my music. All right. So you just want to play with it. You just want to play with Zoom, right? And if you're going to use the whiteboard feature, you want to play with the different things. And so I learned by playing around with it, because I could draw an X. There's a drawing option, but there's also a stamp. And all I do is click it and it just does it, right? So it makes it a lot faster. So just getting a little bit familiar with the platform to help you guys with that. All right. So we're going to wrap that up in terms of lesson and everything for the day. I wanted to just wrap up with biggest takeaways today. What was most helpful for you guys? So we talked about the role of an AM. We talked about characteristics of an AM and the impact that they could have. We talked about being able to impact and the different things you can do to impact the energy, to impact actions people take and even results. And then we talked about all the different ways and the places you can have conversations, whether it's in training, on PDI, and workshops and phone jams, popping in PDI, like whatever conversations we're having with representatives. And then we talked about how to lead great phone jams and the things that make great phone jams. So I want to hear from you guys. Biggest takeaway, what was most helpful for you guys today? And then we'll head out. Well, I'm staying here for management prep, but the rest of y'all can head out besides Kaden and Riley. So love to hear feedback.
Yeah, I'd say one of the things that I really liked was lead by example. I see I pay attention a lot to Grant. He does a great job. I learn a lot just from him talking. He doesn't even it's not like explaining it, but if you're just around him, listening to him, he's doing a lot. Whether it be helping you out, uplifting you, cheering you on.
Awesome.
But yeah, that was just one of the big things that I got.
Love it. What else? Biggest takeaways?
Really just make sure like you're reiterating what Cody's telling us to the new reps, because they're gonna want to listen to us more.
Yeah, absolutely. And build your manager up, because they're going to build you up, and like your guys' word is going to be worth even more, right? Like what you say is going to have more meaning the more they're building up, and the more congruent it is, right? Like when you said the same thing Cody told me to do, and like you told me to do it too, like, does that really work? I heard Cody say it, but like I wasn't sure. You're like, oh yeah, dude, that helped me so much, or oh, it's so worth it. I know it's hard, or like I know it's a bitch to wake up at 8 a.m. every day for a week. But bro, I promise you, when you get that paycheck, it was real sexy, right? Like just being able to share like that, again, it really, really throws that point down. Or for some, that's when they actually listen, is when somebody else said it that wasn't the manager. So what else?
Like being positive and like what you say holds a lot of weight as an AM, just because of like how Cameron said earlier, they view you as more of a peer. So what you say has a lot of weight in what they do. So like if you're having trouble like phoning or something and you're like, oh, like right now is just not a good time, but it could be a good time for somebody else. You just don't know that. It's a bad time for you that day. And then you have a bunch of people thinking, oh, well, right now is not a good time to do phone time. So why would I do phone time?
Yep, that's huge. That's a great example, McCade. None of you should ever be like, oh, no one's picking up. I'll punch you in the head if I walk in the phone and I hear you bitching. So again, don't forget the words you say, and where is what you're saying making the energy go up or down, right? Like, let's be aware and intentional about that. Trevor, biggest takeaway?
I would say for me, probably just be more responsible and just looking at all the like how to be a good manager, and just looking back at that and reflecting on myself, and then making that roll over to your reps as well. So just staying positive with it, because like kind of goes along with what Cade said. Even if like, you know, you're not doing the best or like having the best time with something, you still got to be able to stay positive and pick them up and keep them going. You know,
Mhm.
so.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Rob, Luke, Caden, Riley.
The one
I think one thing that I learned was definitely just work on like communication and not only just like to other people, but also listening as well.
Mhm.
And because I mean, we get a lot of good advice from like, you know, Cody, you, a bunch of different people, and it's good to like be able to really understand what you guys say and then kind of regurgitate that to like, you know, the newer reps and things like that. So it's just important to be able to do that.
Love it. Rob, what were you saying before you?
Nah, good point. Good point. But the phone jams definitely, because I know some reps are intimidated by the phones. So by encouraging them and motivating them with a little game or with a prize or with team, and not having them go through that experience alone
Mhm.
can take us like real far as a team.
Yep. Awesome. All right. Riley, Luke, wrap us up.
Really just I don't know, like they said, like leading by example, but doing what you tell them, I guess, and not just saying something and not doing it or doing the opposite.
Yep. Awesome. Thank you. And Riley, what was your biggest takeaway, love?
I think just like being someone that they can trust and rely on, and being consistent with what you're saying.
Yeah, awesome. Well, guys, hopefully this was helpful. We're super excited to just have a core of BA badass kicking, you know, assistant managers. But, you know, like I talked about earlier, we're building layers here, right? And so a big focus of ours is one, we've got to build big teams. So team building, referring people, thank you guys, helping on campus, handing out cards, sending emails, posting in group meetings. Like there's so many things that can be happening to help spread the word. That's a factor, right? But the rep development piece is also a big factor. What is their experience, right? Are they excited and motivated to take action? Are they doing the right things? Are they developing the right habits from watching you and being coached by you, right? Are we helping them get good at the job? Are we helping, and we're going to talk about this in the next coming weeks, but like really digging in how to skills check a representative, how to help them get good at their closing, how to help them get good at sharing goals, great at sharing goals, because that impacts recommendations and sales and really knowing like how you can help move the needle. And we're going to show you guys that. This is not only going to make you guys so much stronger, like not only help the team and help, you know, whoever you're leading, but it's going to make you guys so much stronger. Everyone that I've had go through and be top level assistants, and the people who really led by example and were living the things we were teaching and doing, like they just like their results went through the roof. All right. And so I want to encourage you guys to, you know, like someone commented earlier, you're not just telling them what to do, right? You're actually doing it too. I think Luke was just mentioning that. So just making sure that we're on top of that. So awesome job today. I know we ran a couple minutes over, but I've got to dive in with our guys opening offices now. And